Hey guys, it's me, Sugar, and I'm here with my husband, Jeff.
Hello.
And we are just going to recount this season, seeing as how we're wrapping up and rolling into the next. We mentioned at the beginning of the season some of the stuff we started watching and likely dropped, so we're just going to talk about what we've continued on with and just how things have been going. Some things are continuing, some things are wrapping up. So let's go to our first one, Attack on Titan. I've been watching this. Jeff has just kind of peeked in at the odd episode. I would say it's been decently good. Like it's definitely held up with the second season in the sense of quality. I feel like episode 8 of 10 was a bit of a heavy info dump, which I wish it would have been spread over more than one episode, but hey, we got some of the answers we were looking for. Yeah, I feel like it's been pretty good. I can't say it's anywhere near season 2, thank God. But yeah, first part of season 3 was good, and this continuation seems to be pretty good too.
Yeah, out of what I have seen thus far, it definitely seemed like it was ratcheting towards a conclusion, or at least like a revelation that people have been wondering about the entire time. And I feel like it's delivered on that fairly well. Again, I'm a person who is... I kind of like the political intrigue. I like a lot of the lore building and the world building as opposed to just, here are giant monsters, titans that are crashing against each other and fighting. I'm like, well, how did this all happen? And you get that with the second part of season 3. I think I said that right, yeah?
Yeah, you're right. It's a weird thing to say because, yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, and then this is part 2 of 3, so it's weird.
Yeah. 3.1 and 3.2, I guess.
Don't say that. That just makes it more confusing. Part 1 and part 2. So yeah, Attack on Titan's been pretty good. I'm glad we finally got some answers. They've had some decent fighting scenes and aerial shots. So those have been good. There's only been a couple little cringy CG moments, but those are anything to really scoff at compared to season 2. Season 2, I have high bitterness towards season 2. So season 3's been a lot better, so I'm really glad. And yeah, I think that's about all I can say without spoiling anything. So
yeah, definitely there's spoilers from probably, even if you've only watched sections of the first season, there's a lot of spoilers as to what they were talking about even in season 1. So again, it's nice to see everything building up towards a lot of answers. I mean, some more questions, obviously, because the series goes on.
Obviously, yeah, because it goes on.
But definitely, this feels like, okay, now we know what we know, and we can move forward with new elements and new things,
Yeah. I'm just glad they finally gave some answers. Because obviously me skimming the manga, I knew they were coming. It's just a matter of, dear God, when? And finally we got them. So at least there's that. As for when the next season will happen and if it'll be just as good, I can't say. I wouldn't put money on it because I just never know now. But hopefully it'll be just as good when the next season comes out, because obviously this will be ending this season, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next one is Carole and Tuesday. It started out really great with Bang. It's been really good. The music's been fantastic. The animation's been fantastic. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is Sibel, one of the characters in there, and I won't get into why because it kind of spoils things if you haven't seen it. It's the only thing that's kind of rubbed me, not even the wrong way. It's just kind of like I didn't feel it necessary in this type of anime. But
I would disagree with you on that one. I
felt like it had such a nice flow before where it was going, and now it's kind of creating extra kind of, I've been lost for words today. Just extra little kinks in the gears, so that it kind of isn't running exactly.
Well, I mean, from the angle that I'm coming from with it, Carole and Tuesday, if nothing else, definitely has its finger on the pulse of what popular culture is.
Oh, incredibly. And it's not saying that's wrong, because a character like Sibel happens a lot.
That's where I feel like it's important and it's something to.
But I feel like you had
talk
like
about.
a specific focus on our main characters, and then you're giving time to this other character, which to me shouldn't be as important in a story like this, in my opinion. It doesn't make it any worse. It doesn't do anything like that. I'm just saying it had a nice flow with our main characters. We had some nice development, and then kind of we have like just some random tertiary characters that kind of just, excuse me, are sparse, not sparse, are sprinkled here and there that kind of make it kind of.
Yeah, I kind of.
Before I really liked it. I liked Roddy. I liked all those things, and I liked the kind of progression it was making and the things that kind of fell along the way. But to me, that's the only thing I don't like as much.
I liked what they did there. It was. Well, I'm not gonna say anything in particular. I just think that again, it speaks to what popular culture and being popular means. And
well, I know
the reaction of our other characters, it's kind of endearing and sweet in a way. And
yeah, but I get it.
Even though you're like, you feel really like you've got this sense of, I don't know, like dread about everything.
Sense of dread? What do you mean?
Well, just with the character of Sibel and what ends up happening, where you kind of know what's going to be happening.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know what's going to be happening because it's a story as old as time, so to speak. I want to hear these girl stories, not some fucking psycho story. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is a real thing. I've had to deal with it, obviously not because of YouTube, but due to other things. Yeah. And I know other people who've had to deal with it. Like, I know it's very real, and I understand that, but I just feel like it was unnecessary to their story. I felt like their story was so smooth. Like, it had a nice progression. And this kind of just took it, like, it was just unnecessary to me, the story of Sibel. Like, unless they decide it's going to be a one-off and that's it, or they're going to keep bringing her back, because obviously this season isn't over for Carole and Tuesday.
Yeah,
it's going to be going into the next season. So, you know, we're kind of in limbo here, not sure exactly how things are going to progress. Obviously, we know how it's going to end. It's brought up every fucking beginning of the episode. It drives me crazy. I hate when it does that because I get it. It's the same with, you know, Black Clover. It's the same with everything. I get it. I get things are going to be great in the end. I'm sure they are. You could have just said it once right at the very first episode. I get it. I will remember. Don't worry. And it's just like...
It's only... My one thing will just be that it's only 15 seconds.
It doesn't matter. It's just, to me, it's why bring it up. And I hate stuff like that in the end where it shows the ending where, like, I wanted to know if things got really bad or where it's just by watching instead of knowing. Like, Bakano was different where the ending, it didn't change the story. Whereas this, knowing the ending of this story, I'm certain where it's going to go. Where it's very few lack of interpretation you can make from what it's... Like, I'll be surprised if it goes a different way than what I'm thinking. But I think I know exactly where it's going to go because it showed the ending. Which to me makes it...
I mean, maybe.
Disappointing. It doesn't take away from the show. It just makes it disappointing to me to know that. But to each their own. That's just me.
I mean, at this point, it's like the difference between like a 9 and a 10. Because it is... phenomenal. It does everything it needs to do very well. Animation is great. All of the characters have been just spot on, wonderful. Definitely the mermaids, is that what they're called? They're going to be known forever.
I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, the fucking bullshit song was great. I didn't expect it at all when they first started singing. I thought it was going to be like something like heavy metal or something and go on that trope instead of it going full swing into holy crap.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Which is true. You see a bunch of like reality shows and they do stupid shit like that. But it was funny watching it, and I still sing it a lot.
And I loved like our little AI robot that is Carol's. That's like adorable. Yeah. And then there's that other AI that shows
that
up.
That has a part, which is hilarious. Yeah, don't spoil anything. Don't say anything.
And, I have
like
to
stuff like that makes it smooth to me, because it makes it kind of like, this is the world you're in now, so obviously this shit's gonna happen. Whereas like the stuff with Sibel, it's kind of like, it wasn't needed.
I mean, I understand why it's there. I like the inclusion, but I get like why other people would be like, no, that doesn't need to be there. because you don't want them to. You don't want those sorts of things to be.
Because yes, I get, like I said, I get it happens. It's just when you have a beautiful story like this, just do the beautiful story. You know what I mean? Show its progression, show the ups and downs, but why have like an unnecessary like ugh moment? You know what I mean?
I appreciate it because that's anybody out there who ends up becoming famous, however they become famous.
Right.
This is a reality that happens.
Again, I get it, and I think everybody gets it, but in this sense of story, I don't think it was needed. So I don't feel like it adds to any part of their story other than the fact that an event happens that makes it so they can't properly perform. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't. Like, yes, that changes, like, obviously with the performance, and it comes to light about other I can't say it because I don't want to spoil it. Obviously, things come to light and they realize things from that performance, but I feel like that could have been found out without Sibel, but to each their own. I just find that's whatever. But it's good. I'm not saying it's bad at all. That's just my own personal little nitpicky.
They could have tweaked some elements of that character because some of the stuff they do is kind of like, whoa, like keep the overall element of what she represents, but you don't have to go as weird as they went with it.
Yeah, like they could have even used it and gone as weird as they did, but later in the show, like they're like brand new and like, you know, all this happens at once, and it's really rare for that to happen. It happens, but usually later in someone's career. You know what I mean? It's not going from like something simple happening, which we saw, to full blown all the way to the other end, which was like holy shit. Well, but to me it was like whoa. But I can't say anything because you are likely going to watch it. If you have watched it, you know what I'm talking about.
Just watch it. It's
really beautiful.
Excellent.
The music is insanely contagious. Like I after will be likely getting the track, if not singing it endlessly, because the songs are all catchy and they all get stuck in my brain, which is somehow possible. I didn't think it would be. Cause
best closer of the year. I can't imagine another anime having a better closer this year.
I disagree, but we'll talk about that after. That has nothing to do with this podcast. That's later at another time when we have the whole year, but I disagree on the ending.
I think it'll be, not talking about opening and closing, I think that the show is going to be in our top 10.
Oh, the show. I thought you said the ending will be like the ending of the year. I don't agree with that.
I think it's my favorite ending. The ending like song is one of my favorite endings ever.
I know that's how Jeff feels because every time he's like, "Why isn't it the opener?"
It's true. Hey, we had that exact same thing about Hinomaru Sumo, where that definitely should have been the opener. The ending was
boss. That's how it should have been, but.
And I mean, the opener is also really catchy.
I like the opener for Carole and Tuesday, so I'm not like mad about it. You were mad about it, but
it's because the closer is so much better.
Whereas Hinomaru Sumo, I was like, the ending is way better than the opener, but
yes,
I wasn't mad about the opener either. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so the next one is Dororo, and it's been really good. I've been heavily enjoying it. God, I've just been terrible with words today. I have been loving it, put it that way.
It's so interesting because like the original story is made like, you know, 50s, 60s era, and yet the anime feels very like 2019. It feels like it belongs in this new generation of anime, and that's really hard to do, to take a source material from a long time ago, one that has already been adapted as well, and to do it justice like this, to kind of reimagine how it looks and how everything works together with newer sort of ideas in terms of animation and what anime does. Lots of people give what's the one I'm thinking of now?
I don't know.
The space one that I liked last year.
Oh, Galactic Heroes.
Yeah, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Lots of people were just like, it's the exact same thing. I don't get why it was being made. I don't get why it's being remade. They're not doing enough to, you know, push it forward. I've not heard anything like that about Dororo.
I don't know a lot of people that actually watched it from the 60s because, like, its source material and the original was both done in the 60s as far as I know. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people honestly watched it because even before this, I heard that there was an original, but I didn't know until, obviously, we were in the thick of it, so to speak. And I don't know anybody who had watched it, who watched anime, so I don't know if it was just not known or didn't do as well back then. I don't know. I haven't watched the original. I haven't really looked into it that much. But it's just a day and age where we have the animation, we have the skill to kind of make it more modern and make it more fluid at the fighting scene, so why not, sort of thing.
Yeah, like the only element that I can even criticize it for is, like, I want more fighting. I want there to be more
finally
combat.
Like near the end when they were fighting. I was like, revenge.
Like, that's the only thing I could say is that the animation for the fighting sequences is so well done.
So
I just
good.
want more of it.
That's the thing. I was like, I want a really long sword fight. In the last few episodes, it's been extending it. I was like, more.
Yes,
it's been really good.
It's been excellent. It has, again, it is definitely up there in terms of anime of the year contention.
Beautiful soundtrack, beautiful colors,
beautiful soundtrack,
beautiful like sensory visuals with like Hyakkimaru and about the seasons and so forth. It's just gorgeous. There's so many things you could pick apart, quite honestly. And if I had the time, which I don't, and I would love to do it, but then it's just getting my ass in gear. It's like how many levels to the colors that are used, to the senses, to Buddhism, like you were talking about, to a lot of things that are going on that are subtly done, but obviously the overtone is revenge and avenging and getting redemption.
It wasn't at the start, and in a lot of respects, it's still like, I mean, it is sometimes, but a lot of it is, and
the horse scene was totally revenge.
Okay, yes, but I think that to call it like a revenge story,
no, it's definitely not like a
because,
Kill Bill sense, but it's very much a mission to try and get part of you back, and in the meantime, kind of making yourself more tainted in the process, which becomes more.
I love the complexity of Hyakkimaru as a character, where it's like you see in some respects that he's going down this path where you're like, I don't know if there is like
any coming back.
There's coming back, but then he just says it right in the middle. He gives a statement where he's like, How can you view what I am doing as something that is wrong?
Yeah, they're mine.
After everything that has happened to me, why is it that I'm in the wrong for wanting this?
Yeah.
How do you justify that in your head? And I'm like, you can't. Like, and yet you're like, you see what it's done to him, what it's kind of what it's forced him to turn into, and you're just like, man, I kind of miss it when things were a little more simple for you. It was never simple.
No. But when things were more chill.
Yeah. And Dororo is such an excellent counterbalance to Hyakkimaru, where like Dororo as a character, you can kind of see Dororo is basically the viewer, where you're just like, I don't want to see bad things happen to you, and you keep on pushing yourself to that thing happening, and you're right at the exact same time when the viewer is like, just stop. Like,
just let it go.
Be happy with it. And that's what Dororo does. And then Hyakkimaru is like, what? No.
Yeah, why should we be asked to let it go when everyone else gets their way, sort of thing. Yeah. It's just like, why can't I have these things that are originally mine,
Yeah, and Dororo as a character is like amazing in the way that they see the world and what their history is like, and how they kind of fit in with Hyakkimaru and everything else that's going on.
Right.
And it's so far, we're about halfway through the year. It's between that and Promised Neverland as the best anime of the year. And I think
you're missing another. You haven't finished it yet, Mob Psycho.
Oh, yes. I am watching the dub of Mob Psycho, and that has been excellent as well.
He hasn't finished it yet.
I would still call it a 2-horse race right now, in my opinion.
You're sick.
Mob Psycho is fantastic. I really like it. I just don't think that it's necessarily as deep as either of them are.
That's an argument for another video, because I can argue that you're wrong. But anyways.
Fine, it's a 3-horse race.
Even though he's humoring me, he doesn't believe that.
Well, I think that there's a 1 and a 2 that are...
and then the third horse.
Like, I mean, Promised Neverland I gave a 10.
Yeah,
I could see giving
too.
Dororo a 10. I don't know, and again, because I'm watching the dub, I haven't finished it, I don't know if Mob Psycho gets a 10 for me yet.
I think it could creep up on you.
It might.
I think you just haven't realized yet.
Oh,
We'll see. But anyways.
No, but Dororo is...
obviously, Dororo is going to be up there for this year. It's just a matter of fact.
And I hope that the team behind it continues to get good work. I hope that they... if this is what they can do with source material that's over 50 years old, like... go and find some other stuff that's really good that we don't know about and be like, boom, here it is again.
It's always so funny because, like, for years I'd seen pictures from the old Dororo because I don't know why. And so I knew what it was when I saw it, but yet nobody ever...
mainly because the creator is the same creator as Astro Boy. So people would show like, when they showed his stuff,
they would
also
showcase
show
it with
Dororo.
So that's probably why, because in my mind when I saw it, I was like, wow, they look really familiar to me. And I didn't think of it until just when you said it.
And it's interesting because this version of Dororo, it does reflect that sort of thing, but the style in which the characters are created and everything.
Oh, it totally different.
Yeah. But it's still like...
that's
you
similar
can
aesthetic,
see it,
you can see it,
but it doesn't have that kind of blocky...
well, yeah, they modernized it. It's very different from the original art style, but in a way keeping to its integrity. So yeah, that's all we're going to say about Dororo. Next one is Fruits Basket, which I love. And I've loved it before it was modernized. Yes. And so watching it now makes me really happy because I see a lot of things, which I mentioned in the last podcast, being rectified from the manga and kind of going more... from the anime, and making it more like the manga, just kind of making slight changes to that. They're more accurate. So it's been great for me in every episode. I'm kind of like on bated breath of like, will they keep it? Won't they keep it? Like, what will they do? And so far they've been pretty good about all the episodes, and I've really enjoyed seeing their interpretation of a lot of them, like Dark Haru. Still makes me laugh, same way it did in the manga. And it's been great. The animation's been stellar. The music's been stellar. Everything's been really good. But I guess Jeff can give his opinion because he's pretty new to it. Yeah. So all the time he's like, what does that mean? I was like, I'm not going to tell you.
So here's my thing. So I had watched about 3 episodes of the original, and that's when we then heard that it was going to be remade. And I'm like, I think there is value in me coming into it totally fresh.
Well, I told you to stop and just watch the new one because I said it's going to be more about the manga than it was the original anime, and it's going to look way better. Like,
and
so
I mean,
there's no
that's
point continuing the old one.
I had mistakenly put like Fruits Basket together in my mind with like, oh, it's going to be similar to like Ouran Host Club, which
Jeff always compares everything to Ouran, which is impossible for anything to measure up to in a lot of ways.
It's a different sort of anime too. Like it's
that's because it's totally different.
No, but I mean, I don't even think it fits into the same genre, and I don't know why I conflated those two genres together. Ouran is a comedy. This has some comedic elements, but it's more dramatic
serious.
And more like, I hate blank, and I hate blank, and I hate the fact that they're jerks. and then I love certain characters because they're not jerks.
So Jeff really hates Akito right now, which is understandable. And I'm sure all of you who have already read or watched the old Fruits Basket are kind of like, you know, what's going to happen, but so don't spoil it for him in the comments.
And I don't like it. And I don't like the impact that Akito has on everybody else who I love and adore. It's like, oh, here's a bunch of nice, fun characters who are quirky and neat, and they've got this weird lifestyle they have to lead. Oh, and by the way, here's like manic depressive, abusive jerk pants who's mentally screwing them all over. Like, no! Tell Akito to go shove it and have your fun life. Please. For me, do that,
I would say
please.
you will see what's going to happen because a lot of stuff still
I mean,
hasn't been.
if I had to guess,
Uh-huh.
the impact of Toru and the way that she is as a human being is going to impact Akito, and Akito will somehow turn into a nice person again. Which I'm still like, that doesn't negate the fact that for, it sounds like decades, you've mentally and physically abused all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make it okay. Screw yourself.
Well, I guess you'll have to wait and see because I'm not telling him.
But that's the thing. I want to watch more, so they've done a good job of making me invested in it, even if it is because I want somebody to get their comeuppance. Which I know won't happen because that's not what Fruits Basket is going to be about. It's gonna be about Toru showing Akito the error of their ways, and I mean that's cool, and that's a fine way for things to go as well. And Toru will be, I'm sure Toru will be like, it must have been so hard for you to feel this way and to be put in that position and stuff. And meanwhile, I'm just going to be like, slap the taste out of their mouth. Come on, Toru. Just bang!
So, otherwise, what do you think of the show itself versus the old anime?
That's very good.
Oh, just a sec. Okay, we're back. As you can tell, Jeff has the closer for Carole and Tuesday on his phone.
Yes. It is a great ringtone, and I love it quite a lot.
As you can tell, Jeff's not a liar. Back to Fruits Basket, though.
Fruits Basket, again, it's not going, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be, like, in my top 5. It doesn't have that impact on me, despite how much I want Akito to be slapped in the face.
We'll see how this year goes, because it might be a bit of a discussion between you and I.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. Mm-hmm. I remember, and maybe it was just a voice acting thing, I didn't like Toru as much in the episodes I watched in the original as compared to now.
Well, it's a different voice actress.
Yes. I think they're all different voices now, because it's like, isn't it like 10 to
it's been a
20
while.
years later? So probably different voice acting. It is very beautiful. It does play with a lot of tropes that you kind of see for the genre. You got all the pretty boys and I
find it funny though, because initially Jeff's like, oh my god, all these pretty boys, ugh. And then after a few episodes, she better end up with Kyo or I'm gonna fucking piss off.
It's because Kyo deserves it. Kyo deserves her. But I mean, I love Kyo, and I love that kind of character. I find the young German blonde Momiji, he's kind of annoying, but
he's not a character for everybody. But again, he is an endearing character, and you find out more about him as well, which most people.
We're going to find out that every single member of this family was somehow mentally traumatized by Akito, and that's going to make me want to slap them even more.
I'm not going to say you're totally wrong on that one. But you'll see the damage that Akito has done as the anime goes on.
And it's a weird dichotomy, and sometimes, like when I'm watching an episode, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be like a happy, yay sort of thing, or a oh, they're damaged episode. Yeah. And it sometimes is a little hard to, because I just want nice things to happen for them.
Yeah, so that's like Hatari's story is so sad to me, and it's like watching it and I was like, ugh. It's like, and I love him as a character.
Also, characters that I really like showing a darker side to them, I'm like, no, don't you be that way.
Dark Haru.
Don't you be that way.
Why not? It's fun.
Everybody combine against Akito. Don't, turn everybody against each other.
Well, you'll have to see why things are the way they are as time goes on.
It has been enjoyable, and I have liked it, and I'm obviously, again, I'm invested in it, and so that's the mark of a good anime. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to promise anything like that.
Oh, probably not.
But I mean, if it makes you care about what's going on and that you are eager to watch it every week, I think that's a success.
I shouldn't say probably not. Just depending on these kinds of things, anything can happen. But who knows? There's something else I was going to say, and I'm just trying to think now. Oh, right. And it didn't finish the season, so it's rolling into the next one. It hasn't
Isn't
been
it? I
clearly
think it's going to be
stated.
like over 50 episodes, I thought
I've heard
they said.
different things. I thought it was about like I heard 50 initially and then 60 something after. So I'm not sure. I haven't heard a clear-cut way how they're going to split up each season
But
or
it
how
does-
much they're going to.
That does make it sound like they are going
Well,
to...
obviously they're splitting up because this says part 1.
Yeah.
So
I just mean, it sounds like they are going to do the whole manga in a fairly good way.
which I'm super fans are hugely happy about because a lot of people were unhappy with how the original anime ended. So
See,
I'm
and
excited.
after I watch the ending to this, you'll have to tell me what the ending to the original was, and I'll be like, if Akito got punched in the face, the original ending is better.
Well, we'll see. So, anyways, so the manga, and the anime, and once we finish, I will tell you how things went in the original anime. So on to the next one, because I think that's all we have to say about Fruits Basket.
Yeah.
Is Karakuri Circus. So,
I will first admit that I kind of jumped off of it.
Yeah.
Like, life happened
I did
and
the
things
Cliff
got
Notes
busy.
version for Jeff.
It sounds like it went far beyond either of our imaginations could have predicted.
What I'll say is that the animation held up throughout. And it still had an emotional pull on certain like scenes and people because near the end, obviously, certain people die. I won't say who, but that made me sad. So I know it did a decent job or a good job of investing in these characters and creating something there. The bad part is, by the end, shit is off the rails in the sense of a story. Like, I thought it would be going in. The second you think you know where it's going, it decides to divert into another part of jumping another shark. It was just by the end here, it's odd.
We've jumped Megalodon by the end.
It's so many times where I thought, okay, now I know where it's going. And it keeps turning, like making pivots at like 45 degrees.
It also feels like, from what you've been telling me, they probably needed at least another season. Like, it feels like they're just jamming so much, and so much is happening, like, very quickly.
Yeah, I feel like, obviously I haven't read the manga, so I can't say for sure, but I feel like a lot of things that are happening, especially in certain episodes where it's like, wow, that needed more time to, like, get the same punch as what it did initially for certain characters. Or there's stuff where it's like, realized, there's like one episode, like we talked about before, where somebody's like, backstory's there, they die, and then I'm like, well, I want to feel sad about it because
Did they want me to feel sad about
I was just
that?
like, I needed more time to be invested in my sadness. But I can say the animation's been very good. The odd time CG's been kind of wonky a little, but the animation's been good. The characters have been interesting. In the end, like I said, certain people die, which made me sad. So I was like, oh, well, obviously, you know, I'd kind of been like, okay, these people will die and these people will live, and I was wrong about a couple. But I would never say it's bad. I can't say it's great.
This
It's
is a
kind
swimming
of-
in sevens.
It's like flirting with good. It wants to be good. I just feel like there's certain things where it just kind of went a little crazy. That's the best way I can explain it, because overall I kept watching. It was enjoyable, but it was just weird at times where, like, I want to say a specific situation, but I can't say it because it would spoil something, but it didn't make sense. And when things don't make sense and I start thinking about it, it makes me feel worse.
I checked out when, I'll just say when Resurrection became an issue. I'm like, I really liked this when it was just, oh, hey, there are basically almost like living dolls that need to be fought, and and Shiroganes fight them with their own puppets. I was like, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And then it gets
like I said, it keeps
into...
taking turns where it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna talk about like transferring minds. Okay, we're gonna talk about like the Zonafa disease. We're gonna talk about like resurrection. We're gonna go into like every like weird thing, which a lot of it makes sense, but a lot of it doesn't.
And like, just because something makes sense doesn't mean that it's a good idea either. Like why
Inception.
couldn't this have just been a show about battle puppets fighting other battle puppets.
Yeah.
And the first, 13 episodes were great. When it didn't jump the Megalodon. When it was just kind of,
when it was just
focused on a smaller thing. It was like, oh, this is so cool. And then there was this thing. And then this thing. And there's, different forms of resurrection. And they have to do with, 7 different ways in which you can get to it. And I'm just like, okay, why can't this be a story about our people and not the past people? It's a lot. Let's put it that way. It's an anime that started as a 9 and it's going to end as a 6. So it's going to sit at maybe a 6.5 to a 7. And that's... It's disappointing, I guess.
Yeah, because there was a lot of good things going for it. And like I said, it still did by the end have certain things going for it. It's just kind of went crazy. So it is what it is. So yeah, let's move on. So the next one is One Punch Man. It's been... let's make this straight off the get-go. I think we said this in the last podcast, but in case we didn't, people are giving it so much hate for its animation. And we did talk about it a little bit in the last podcast, because there are some things different, but it's not like it's absolute garbage. It's not like it's... we knew this was going to happen. It changed hands. It's a different style. It's a different everything. But it's everyone's treating it oh my god, it's so fucking bad. It's I didn't hear as much bitching over Dragon Ball Super, which to me was way worse.
And it was way worse in the first 65 episodes.
soon.
Dragon Ball Super only gets decent in the Tournament of Power arc. It's not...
And even in the Tournament of Power arc, there are frames that are, oh my god.
Yeah. And the thing that annoys me about this is... One Punch Man, the first season, was literally, let's give a whole bunch of amazing directors infinite resources and money and time.
Well,
and to do,
it wasn't like that exactly, but we had pretty big people.
They had big people come in to do stuff, and they all put their best into it.
Yes.
And
that's the thing.
What is ever going to compare to that? What other anime could you ever point to and be like, yeah, we're going to get different directors to come in, all of whom have a huge background in action. They're going to do their own style of action for every single part that they work on, and we're going to give it an amazing budget and everything.
Yeah.
It's you are never going to get that again.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why One Punch Man Season 2 took 4 years, I think.
I honestly don't know.
But I kind of like the story in Season 2 better than Season 1.
Yeah, I like that there's more of a story. I just feel the only thing I nitpick, in which I told you outside of this podcast as well, so it's truthful, is that... Well, everything I say is truthful in here. But, I mean, he knows I've said it before, is I wish it would have just focused on Garo, because I really like him as a character, and I like what they're doing with him. And I don't like so much this whole Hunter Association being mixed in with it. But, it is what it is. It's not bad. It's just I like him, and I'd like to see his progression and kind of him going... I don't want to say insane, because he's not insane. Him going a little crazy.
Well, Him
being a little overachieving.
He, in some respects...
I get it.
It's interesting that he is kind of, in a twisted way, living the kind of life that...
A monster would.
Not even a monster... that Saitama wants to live. Saitama, the entire first season, was all about, I want a challenge, I want something to actually push me, I want to, and he mentions it the second season, where he's like, I want to feel as if I'm improving.
Yeah, but there's a difference between the two, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Saitama doesn't want to hurt anybody, in the sense of, if it would have been, heroes or something, he wouldn't have gone out of his way to go and attack them just out of boredom. Whereas Garo is...
Exactly. Garo is a twisted representation of that same drive of wanting to improve yourself. Garo, he doesn't come across to me like a stain. He doesn't come across to me like heroes they're bad because...
No, it's the sense that he feels like he never belonged as the hero type, or even as a person, so to say. He more equated himself to one of the monsters, and I find that interesting. And yeah, I would like that delved into more, because even you can see it's a soft spot for kids.
Giguk seems to, like, we don't know anything about One Punch Man. We did not read ahead. We don't know anything in terms of that. Giguk made a video about how Garo becomes a central figure moving forward in the storytelling. So we're very happy about that. Yeah. Honestly, I'm very happy about the second season of One Punch Man. I feel like the writing has been really good. I like throwing in a bunch of weird, crazy heroes, because that's part of what I really like about the One Punch Man universe, where, you know, a guy with a bat is one of the strongest heroes alive. Why not? Like,
I love him.
Everything is absurd.
I wish he'd be
in this
used
world.
More.
I like the idea of the monsters that have shown up and kind of what they represent, as opposed to, you know, I like a lot of what they've been doing. Is it as flashy? Is it as well animated as the first season? No. Is it one of the elites? I would say if you're just talking about pure animation, I would probably watch Dororo before I would watch One Punch Man Season 2. That being said, though,
I'm not like,
the second season of One Punch Man has delivered everything that I've wanted, with exception to the fact that the animation isn't a 10 out of 10, but we knew that going in.
Well, we expected it.
We knew. I knew.
And my comment about people complaining isn't about somebody like Giguk. Like, I feel like he did a pretty level look at it. Like, he said his piece, but, you know, was pretty respectful about it. I've heard fans be like, oh my god, this is fucking garbage. I can't watch this. I'm like, come on. Like, it's not...
1 out of 10.
It's not that bad. Like,
not at all. And I mean, I don't understand why Dragon Ball Super gets a pass for being...
It's because it's Dragon Ball.
What? This is much better than anything Dragon Ball Super did. It's much better than anything Dragon Ball Super did.
Right, but that doesn't change the fact that it's Dragon Ball. It has a huge fan base, bigger than One Punch Man, so...
I don't know.
It's what just, it is.
It's weird.
People are biased. The same with Attack on Titan. Like, going off in a veer here. How many times I've bitched about it, people still get angry that I bitch about it, even though objectively parts are bad. Yet people still get mad at me for bringing that up as if it's God. Like, it's not perfect. It's nothing is 10 out of 10 in there. Like, there are parts that are really good and parts that are really bad. And you have to acknowledge that it's bad. Like, straight up. But there's certain fan bases where I feel like Attack on Titan, one of them is Dragon Ball. I feel like a lot of fans can't fess up to the fact that it's bad at times.
I like when it goes the other way, where a fan base will just be like, well, yeah, there's some garbage stuff, but I still like it anyways. Like, I don't know anybody who argues that SAO is the best of anything. They're just like, I just like it. Like,
yeah,
that's fine.
I find it cute when people say that, though, where it's just like, I love SAO, and I'm like, they're like, do you? And I'm like, well, I don't love it, but, you know, I can understand why you do. They're like, yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10, but I like it, and I love it. And I was like, okay. That's like, that's fair. You're allowed to love what you want.
There's the thing that subjectively you love, that objectively you're like...
objectively and subjectively.
There is so many better isekais out there. And it's the same thing with... Like, I will recognize the fact that I really, really enjoy Overlord, despite the fact that it's got some issues. It's
especially
got some
the sweet CG army.
CG army that at one point looked like walking bowling pins. I'm like, ooh. And then the weird goat monster thingy where I was like, I'm not sure what you're supposed to be.
That was bad.
But I like so many elements of it that I just kind of look past that. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Who cares?
And that's people are like, oh, you love Bakuno, you love On Host Club. It's like, I do. I'm not saying they're perfect. They're not. Both of them have issues. I can agree to that. There's very few things where I can be like, no, they're perfect or pretty close to perfect. Like,
yeah. And I mean, I've said it before. I've got a video on your channel where I don't feel a 10 out of 10 is literal perfection.
Well,
literal
because as
perfection
soon as we think
exist.
we find perfection, something else will be more perfect. That's just how it is. We can only say, based on what we know, it checks all our boxes, you know? Yeah. And that's just what it is. Other people, you know, obviously I shouldn't say usually, 100% of the time, I rate things on what I feel they are. Like, I feel like when I watched Dragon Ball Z, Super, whatever, and rated it as such, that's what I felt objectively it deserved. It's not like, in my enjoyment, like, I've watched Dragon Ball Z tons of times. It's a favorite to watch, but I would never say it's a 10 out of 10. Even though people rank like that. Some people like 10 out of 10 Dragon Ball Super. And I'm like,
And that's here.
You're not using the system properly, though.
Season 2 of One Punch Man, to me, is going to be, depending on how it ends, it's either going to be a 7. It's probably going to be a 7. If the last few episodes really deliver and raise their game up a bit, it might move it to an 8. But that's as high as it's ever going to be because it does have some issues. But I don't think that it has delivered anything less than what it promised to deliver anyways, based on what you know of it. It's not like it's Marchin Machin levels of
not bad.
This is a fire, and
Which,
you just want to
if you
watch
want
it
to see
burn.
examples of really bad animation, go to Marchin Machin, especially near the end when things really go on fire. It's something else.
Hey, and I watched it just to watch the world burn, basically.
Yeah.
It was
Jeff
laughable
is
how
sick.
bad it was. Most of the time, if something is bad, I will not give it the time of day. We
I
tried,
don't know
what was
about
it?
that.
Island, I gave it 2
You always
episodes.
give things. Jeff is always the optimist.
Yeah, I'll give something
and he'll
3
give
episodes.
it usually 3 episodes of me. Usually in the first episode, definitely the second. I know whether I'm committed or not. There are a couple times you've heard me on the podcast where I'm like, I don't know. It's usually when I'm in a funk or I'm wanting to fill my roster of what to watch, so to speak. But if I'm being truthfully honest, if I'm being very honest to myself, within the first episode, I'm 70% sure what it's going to be. The second is 100%. I know where it's going.
I'm getting better at that too. So
there's things I was to Jeff. I was like, okay, these are things that you'll see.
Yeah.
This will end badly.
that one anime that I thought had an interesting premise that had to do he eventually he was time traveling near the end.
Yes.
But there was immediately 3 or 4 things that I saw that I was like, nope. As promising as some of these elements are, nope.
All of these
one
things
episode. I gave that one episode, and I was like, nope.
I was like, don't touch it again.
If they're going to spend time doing this instead of actually working on their idea, then nope.
Yeah.
You don't deserve any more than that.
Let's move on. So then the next one is, we didn't talk about it in our initial podcast, but I realized it was in season when I had watched it. Was the Rilakkuma to Kaoru, and it was on Netflix. And it was different, I'll tell you that. I thought because I had never watched anything with Rilakkuma, and I thought it'd be cute and whatever, kind of like Hello Kitty. It would be this great adventure, but it's literally about these 2 bears and this little chicken. I can't say their names for the life of me right now because I can't remember. But Rilakkuma, smaller bear, chicken, and they live with this woman who's depressed with her living situation, depressed with her job, just miserable. It's so the whole season is about her being utterly miserable, and the bear is living with her. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And so I don't know what else to say other than that. And it's very much what is it called? Stop animation?
Yeah.
It's not with clay. Was it with clay? Oh gosh, I can't think of what it's called. Just that animation. Is it stop animation?
Yeah.
Okay,
Stop
that's the right one. And I was getting confused with claymation. I don't know why.
Claymation is stop animation. With
both clay. Yeah, it's not claymation.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's in that style, so it's not in the normal animation sort of format. It's different. So it took me by surprise because I thought it would be very uplifting and make me feel better. It made me feel worse. So
you're laughing about it now.
I'm laughing about it now because I remember talking to one of my friends on the phone when I was watching one of the episodes. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm waiting for her to slit her wrist because this is so dark. This is it's very dark at times. I was like, Jesus Christ. Where she's just like, oh my God, I'm so miserable. I hate my job. I don't know why I'm around. Why am I not married? God, I have such a dark aura. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Was that the one where they ate the mushrooms?
No, there was mushrooms growing in the apartment for how sad she was becoming. It was becoming
and they were going to eat it, but then something else.
She said they were fine, so they went to go cook it, but then a frog came in and ate it and realized it was poisonous, so they decided not to kill themselves. It's quite the season. It's not uplifting in the slightest. It's very much life sucks. You get it. And that's the show.
Oh, goodness.
It was
sounds like a da-da.
In the end, nothing gets better, and you're like, well, shit.
That's life sometimes.
Yeah, it's just well, you get it. That's I do. So I felt no better after watching it. But
I was gonna say,
it's on Netflix.
Speaking of Netflix, Just to throw it out there, we have started Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah, not new, but yes.
It's new because it's just tossed on to Netflix, and it's new to us. We're 2 episodes in. Neither of us has, beyond AMVs and stuff like that, and what we've heard through the ether. Neither of us have done anything regarding Neon Genesis Evangelion. So, if you want an opinion that isn't about is this good compared to the original dub or whatever, we'll have that. Also, have not yet watched the 2nd season of Agretsuko because I just caught up on the first one.
Yeah, so I was waiting for him to catch up. And then as for that, the next season, really the only thing I can think that we're pretty stoked about is obviously Dr. Stone. Yeah. And then Vinland Saga, because our friend's very into Vikings, so we are now interested.
You know what? I am starting to get a little intrigued about the weird, fighting fire with fire, being a firefighter that uses the power of fire to fight other fires.
What the hell is it called, though?
I forget.
I'll look it up now so that people know that it's not just about
I'm going to watch the... just seeing some of the trailers and, the action sequences that come out, and the fact that I didn't realize it was made by the same guy who did Soul Eater. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of Soul Eater, so I'm not the right person to talk to.
Well, but I mean, he's got some cred to him,
Well, obviously, a lot of people have cred to their name. It just doesn't mean
I don't know.
Much.
Fighting fire with fire by being a firefighter that fights fires with fire. I'm like, yes.
Oh, God. If you could just say the name of the anime instead of saying fire 50 million times. Oh my God.
The name
I'll look it up right now.
But I thought that looked kind of neat. There's other ones that we have on our list, but it's looking a little...
So it's called Fire Force.
There you go. See?
Jesus Christ.
Fire
with a fire of fire. Jesus Christ.
It's about a world where people are spontaneously combusting and then turning into these weird fire creatures. I'm like, all right.
Oh, God.
That seems neat.
So as you can tell, Jeff is slightly on board.
Oh, and I guess one more thing to update people on, because I don't know if we've talked about it too much. Fairy Tail is currently airing its final season. We are 60 episodes into the 2nd season. We have powered through so much Fairy Tail.
Yeah, we've been powering through the last few weeks, so...
Yeah. And that's what happens when you have a season that maybe isn't as strong as what all of 2018 felt like, and most of 2017.
Yeah, this year's been a little quiet, in my opinion. It's not like there's nothing good, because obviously we just talked about a bunch of things that are good. It's just even next season in this season, we're talking about 2, 4, 6, 7 things. And next season, I don't know, I might have around the same, if not less. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be filling it with more stuff I want to watch, because I've been waiting forever to watch Wolf's Rain, and that's on my list. My friend's been getting me to watch a bunch of things, too, lately, which I promised her, so I've been finding a little more time to do it, but...
Yeah, going through the list a little bit.
Usually, last year, I had no time whatsoever.
The last 2 years, 2017 and 2018, had a plethora of anime that I would consider an 8.
I was so busy.
Yeah, and we had, every season, we had a few that were 9s and 10s, and then a bunch that were an 8.
And I even had a chance to go back to my script and re-edit it and be pissed about it.
This year, it's we've got maybe 3 10s, and then the rest.
Yeah, I can see on the list, definitely, like you said, Mob Psycho, Dororo, Promised Neverland. And those are the big ones. And then everything else will kind of be us weeding through and being well, we'll see what happens with Dr. Stone.
And then
we'll see what happens.
I don't know if we can technically put the 4th season of My Hero Academia on, because it will not be done by the end of the year.
Well, it starts in October, so to me that counts. I know the manga too, so that's a bit of a cheat, but it's starting in October, and it should, I'm assuming, be done by the end of the year, I would think.
No, because it's going to go 24 episodes at least.
I don't know, honestly, how many it's gotten. I haven't looked it up. But either way, quality always sustains, so that would be one thing for me, because every single season the quality is sustained.
I just don't know if it's fair to be that anime...
But then you can't count it in the next year, though, because you don't count stuff that comes in the year after. You do it when it starts. We've done that several years because you were going against your own self here, because we did the same thing with Ancient Magus' Bride. So you're being the pot calling the kettle black by doing this.
I guess we did, right?
We did it with several. So we're basing it on the fact that it stays... Like, Karakuri Circus was on last year's top 10, and it biffed it near the end here. And we hoped that it would sustain. So obviously it would drop down on the list a little bit. Might still be on the list. I'd have to recheck it. But there's a chance it wouldn't even be on the list. So we're going on the fact that it sustains.
Okay, so then we might.
It's the same with a movie release, any TV release.
We'll probably have 4 tens.
We'll see. So yeah, it should be in there because the next season's going to be great, and I'm so excited. Mirio, yeah, and Night's Eye and everybody else. It's going to be great.
They put a preview up recently.
I know, it looks great, and I'm so glad. It's so great to see things come alive, because in my mind I had like, okay, that's probably what the colors will be, and obviously they had a couple of like colored pages in the manga. But seeing it all, like, moving now, I'm like, oh, that looks so good. It's so good. So, yeah, that's kind of our batch this season. Even, like, with Vinland Saga, I'm a little scared, because even in the trailers, there was heavy CG, and I'm like, dear God, hopefully it doesn't look super fucking ugly. But that's my own fear. Yeah. I'm sure other people are just happy about the content. I'm scared with the animation. Dr. Stone, I haven't seen anything that scares me so far. I've actually been more intrigued, especially when the trailers have been extending.
Yeah. That story is really unique and interesting.
Honestly, I haven't read any of the manga, so I know nothing. I'm going in totally dry. That sounds terrible. But I'm going in just new. So we'll take it as it is. I have no bias, quite honestly, other than the anime I've already watched. But that doesn't obviously have any relevance to Dr. Stone, other than it being shonen category. So, we'll see.
Did we want to talk about Fairy Tail? Because we don't have a whole lot else we're talking about. We could talk about Fairy Tail.
I mean, we don't have to fill the podcast. I mean, it can just be shorter. It's fine. But tell you about Fairy Tail. It's been good. Some of the filler's been a little unnecessary and a little dry at times, but overall it's been good. I like it. It's been consistent.
I don't know why... I don't understand why Bleach is in the top 3 and this isn't. I don't get it. Bleach to me, I didn't like Bleach. One Piece, I don't like the visual style of it, and people have said like, and that's not to comment on the quality that it has. I don't like watching it. And One Piece, let's say One Punch Man. One Piece could be and probably is amazing, but the only one of the big 3 that I really liked was Naruto, and now I'm like, well, Fairy Tail is really, really good, too.
I'd have to make a video about it, but quite honestly, there's a lot of things going on with Fairy Tail and its legacy, so to speak. I feel like with Fairy Tail, a lot of people did come out and say, oh my god, it's such a good, it's such a good anime, it should be one of the tops, like you said, in the sense of, like, shonen classics or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like at that same token, there was a lot of counter culture, so to speak, where they're like, fuck that, Fairy Tail's terrible, it doesn't do half the things that Naruto does, doesn't do all these, like, epic things, like, no, it's not even as good as blank. So they tried to push it down by, like, focusing on the good things that were in other great shonens, and then so there's always been, like, this discrepancy of people who really love Fairy Tail and people who deeply hate it. And, like, and then people who just don't like it just on views. Like, initially, quite honestly, and I'm being perfectly honest here, years ago, I swore that I wouldn't watch Fairy Tail because when I saw Urza's costumes and, like, every other scene with girls showing their tits, I'm like, I know what this is going to be. I don't want to watch it. It seems like kind of exploitative, and I don't want to be a part of it. And then I thought... I can't remember what happened. Oh, I remember what happened. It's a long story, but I'm not going to get into all of it. But the long and short of it is, I, for some reason, had it on my laptop when a power went out. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch a few episodes. I have nothing else on the laptop for some reason. I'm just going to watch it. And I really liked it. I liked the music. I liked the characters. I thought it was really good vibes. And then when the power came back on, I just continued to watch it. So it's one of those things that it's kind of threefold, or people who love it, hate it, and then unknowingly hate it. But I feel like there's a lot more about Fairy Tail, that a lot of lore about why it's not in the top But again, that's something I would have to go into because it's not as simple as 3 divided factions creating this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its fair share of fan service, but it also, like, it understands that it is. It jokes about that all the time. A lot of guys show up kind of being, half naked to 3/4 naked. It's got guys who have, like, a lot of machismo. It has characters who it shows, like, a wide variety of sexuality. Like,
I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't talk about with Fairy Tail. Like, I feel like it's very inclusive in that sense of, like, you are who you are. Like, one of the guild leaders, Bob, who is, I would say, trans at the very least, and then we have people, like, guys loving guys, girls loving girls, like, people, like, of all different kind of shapes and sizes, so to speak, being able and freely to love one another and be themselves. And it's never once criticized throughout as far as I've seen, of like, oh my god, that's gross, or oh my god, that's sick. It's kind of like, it's kind of, I don't want to say kind of a joke sometimes, but it just makes light of it in the sense that, it's not that serious. Like, if he has feelings for you, he'd be like, I'm not like that, but he's like, okay, that doesn't change how I feel about you, though.
Yeah,
and so it's like, and so it's just funny in that sense of, like, some people just go really overboard, like Juvia, who's incredibly, like, a sweetheart to me. I love her to bits. And obviously some people are like, oh my god, she's such a stalker. But she just loves Gray so much. And even though at this point his feelings aren't returned, it doesn't change the way she feels about him. So she's still very lovey-dovey towards him and very much, like, all about Gray. And it's super cute. And, I think it says a lot about love and relationships. And I think Fairy Tail does a lot of things for, the commentary on society. But that's, again, another video.
Maybe that's part of the reason. Maybe some people just can't, like, maybe some people don't want that in their shonen.
I can guarantee. I've heard people say that to my face.
And to be fair, like, shonen usually it's a very typical set of tropes, and Fairy Tail has a lot of fun, poking fun at all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's very, very open, honest, and liberating about it. It's like, yeah, some people like being half nude half the time. Other ones like being, transgender, and other ones that are just bi or queer or whatever. And it's fine.
Yeah, they both bring attention to it, and yet they don't. This world, like, none of that, beyond, like, the embarrassment that you might feel that somebody, finds you super hot or something, mm-hmm. like, but that's universal. Like, It wouldn't have mattered if it was if that was a man, finding you attractive, or a woman, mm-hmm. or just like, ooh, like, that embarrasses me a little bit to feel that way. Where I don't know, it felt very different for a shonen to do that sort of thing. So maybe I give it more credit than maybe it deserves.
I feel like it did a lot of great things. I just feel like another thing with Fairy Tail that people often gripe about, which in a sense is true, but in a way not exactly, is that it's very formulaic. That it does the same thing over and over and over in every arc. And yes, I get it. Something bad happens. They go fight the baddies. Things are resolved. It goes back to normal. Things happen. Whatever.
That was the entirety of the Dragon Ball universe.
Yes, but people love Dragon Ball. So it's a classic. It's different, apparently.
And I mean, let's be fair with Naruto. I could count the number of characters who died and stayed dead on one hand. Like, and that the thing is, like, that made those powerful. But at the same point, like, how many things of significant consequence happen in Naruto, mm-hmm. Beyond the development of our characters? I mean,
Naruto to me is really deep, and I'm not going to ever narc on Naruto because I love it, and I think it does a lot of things, again, really good.
It's emotional far more than most.
I'll never forget Haku. Like, that destroyed me.
Yeah.
But in the same token, there have been moments in Fairy Tail that have been sad, and that made me tear up and cry. And I know there's parts that are upcoming because they've been spoiled for me.
Yep.
That's okay. Shit happens. But anyways, another time, another podcast, another thing for me to vent about Fairy Tail. Either way, we're watching it. We're enjoying it. That's kind of our recap of the season, creeping into the next one here. Once we start watching those for the next season, we'll make another podcast, tell you how we're feeling. I'm worried I'll have bad reports for Vinland Saga, but I'm hoping not. And obviously we'll be watching a couple more things we haven't mentioned, but I think we'll see how it goes.
We might just do a preview sort of podcast in a couple of weeks.
Well,
anyways,
we'll
too,
watch
so.
a couple, like I said, like we normally do, have our first impressions and kind of give you what we're feeling or not feeling, and then from there we'll go from there. From there we'll go from there. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeff.
Of course, always.
And until next time, we'll see you later.